A very good evening to all the viewers who are just joining us. This is your host Vans here. Yes, today is Wednesday at 9 p.m. Yes, we are back with another interesting guest speaker, which is Dr. Vani. She's been quite a regular guest speaker with us in Kopi With Vans. And today's topic, of course, if you look over here, wait, let me just point over here. Yeah, self-love is self-care. That's right. We are celebrating the Women's International Day. So we're giving a lot of dedication and dedicated topic for the woman, all over the world, and of course to the Mother Nature as well. As usual, where we're going to explore the many ways in which we can improve, all right, our mental, emotional, and physical well-being. So I'm your host. You all know that. And self-love and self-care are most of the time, right, is misunderstood concepts, right? Some people think it's just about doing things for yourself. No, but it's more than that. All right. Some people think that they are just in the buzzword or excuses to indulge in self-indulgence or even selfishness, right? But the truth is they are essential for our overall health and happiness that we're going to talk about today with Dr. Vani. So just a little bit more. They're not just nice to have, but they must. It's a must to have, right? In this episode, we will explore what is self-love and self-care really, really mean and why that's so important and how we can practice them in our daily life. The one thing about this is, we are so busy with so many things that we often forget ourselves and we sell our soul to everywhere. And, we are running over the date, the time, and most of the time we don't even know what is exactly happening to us, right? So today we're going to talk about all that, right? It's not just about selfish, it's prioritize our needs. Our self-care can also help us to manage stress, anxiety as well. So self-love can also help us build and self-confidence. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join me as we dive into the wonderful world of self-love and self-care. So let's get started. I'm going to invite Dr. Vani on board. Let's go, Dr. Vani. Dr. Vani, come in. Hello, Dr. Vani.
Hi.
Hi, how are you
Hello,
there?
Manan. I'm good. How are
Nice to.
you?
I am good as well, Doctor. So thank you for joining me again at Kopi With Vans.
I'm so happy to be here. It's like becoming a hometown to me, huh?
It's right. I mean, that's why we call it the double V, Vani and Vanan, right? Doc, today, yes. So before we even jump into the topic today, self-love and self-care, which I just gave a little introduction, but perhaps, it's good to have always an introduction of yourself every time, new viewers are coming in. Doctor, it's your time now to introduce yourself.
Right. Um, well, I have started my journey since when Vanan knows me. I started my journey as an entrepreneur and as a social worker, humanitarian. But lately I have went back into the field of science, which was my training. So I am a scientist. I work with one of the institutes here at A Star, and I'm also a poet. So yes, if I have to identify myself with three different things, it would be science, poetry, advocacy. May not be in the same order. The orders always differ, but that's who I am. And I'm a mother of two kids. And yeah, That's a lot about myself.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you for that introduction. I mean, of course, I know personally Dr. Vani for a couple of years, even before, way before COVID. We have done a couple of podcasts as well in Kopi With Vans and very interesting topics. Dr. Vani is also holds a lot of experiences in humanitarian. She does a lot of good work, behind what she does, right? I mean, in the front, she does a lot of stuff, but, behind, she does a lot of stuff, which we're going to talk about that as well. But today's topic, of course, we mentioned earlier, self love and self care, how important it is, right? So, Doc, let's jump into the topic itself. Let's start up with the Women's International Day. Every year it's dedicated. The Father's Day, Valentine Day, Women's Day, Husband Day, Car Day, Cow Day. There's so many days dedicated.
Proud.
Do you think that we should have a special dedicated days to celebrate this, or we should celebrate throughout the year?
It's always good to celebrate the women in your life throughout the year. Why not? But also, like how we have birthdays, right? So, if there are days assigned to certain things where you can make them feel a little extra special, there's nothing wrong in it. Like, we polarize things a lot these days, whether we should do it, whether we shouldn't do it. But I personally feel there's nothing wrong in having a Father's Day or a Mother's Day or a Woman's Day. As we have birthday, we celebrate life every day, but
Right.
we go an extra mile on our birthday. So if there is a day to appreciate something, might as well we appreciate that more.
Right. So we should have 365 days instead of just one day, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Thank you, Doc. So we are going to go into the topic today, self-love and self-care. So viewers who are watching this, or even if it's a record version, it is in Spotify as well. So you can listen to us, our podcast, without watching the video if you're on the go. Spotify and Apple Podcasts, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. All right. So these are the areas where you can catch us with these burning topics that we are bringing in every Wednesday. And today with me is Dr. Vani, and she'll be discussing a lot of stuff with us about self-love and self-care. So why not perhaps we start with Doctor first, right? So, Doctor, what does self-care mean to you? Before we even have a couple of more other questions from viewers, what is
Right.
self-care important to
Right.
you?
Self care means being able to stand for yourself and taking care of your being the way it needs it. So what happens is that when we are born, we are all perfectly all right, and we are one very happy souls doing anything and everything. But slowly, as we start growing up, starting from the parents to the world around us, starts telling us how to do things, who to be, how to be, and we keep wearing masks after masks after masks. So for me, the self care is that removing those masks and learning to be how to bring out that authentic self back again. It could it could even be like learning to say, presenting your truth to the world, whatever your truth is, like you whatever you love to do, and you are very open to the world about it now, or you are open to yourself. And self care also means embracing all the parts of you, which means as humans we also have parts that are may not be acceptable to society. We have feelings that are probably very contradictory from each other, but having empathy to that, having empathy to your mistakes, having empathy to the parts which are darker, if I say so for the want of a better word, accepting those, assimilating those, bringing the full complete person that you are, not for anyone else but for yourself. That is self care.
Right. So, Doc, I mean, thanks for that. I mean, talking from my experiences as well. I mean, nowadays it's, I think, most popular word right now, I think we are hearing right now is either COVID-19 or mental health. These two things are even talked about. But probably if I'm going to put it in the list, may not be having the stats to say that this could be the number third, but self-care seems to be spoken or talk about all the time. And oh, what are you doing? I'm doing self-care. But I think it's so much important for us as an individual because, like what you say, Doc, I mean, we are always outward bound, right? So we do things for everything on the external, but sometimes we are not looking at the internal. So it can be like a candle melting away. So this self care comes in and help us recuperate. I call the three R's: rest, recover, and recuperate. So, can we go into that part? Because we are always working on deadlines, stress,
Mhm.
politics, issues, family, this, that, cow run over by bicycle, bicycle run over by rat. Those kind of stuff. Always this chaos thing that's going in our mind. So, what is exactly is happening to us, Doc?
You have seen the hamster wheel? The
Yeah,
hamster is
correct.
running on the wheel, round and round,
That's
hamster
right.
wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly that's what uh, we have been becoming, we have been trained to do. We have started identifying success with material. Like, if I
Right.
have, you know, six figures salary, then it's a
Hmm.
success. If I have a car, if I have apartment, if I have a certain status in my life, if I'm married, if I have children, then it is success. So we are born, and then there's a template for us that this is the sort of life that you are supposed to live, and we continue to go on into that circle without, while maybe our essence, our inside wants something else. Not everybody is born unique, right? I can say that
Right.
because I work with DNA, right? So everybody's
Right.
DNA is a unique signature. Our way of being, what we want to do, what we are here, what's our purpose, is our
Right.
unique way of being. And one person's being cannot be replicated as other person's being. But as
Right.
opposed to that, the world has given us the mold. This is how you have to live. So thus we get into that rat race, and in that rat race, what we do not realize is that these are the material things, and the thing about material thing is that it is not permanent. It's sometimes gonna be there, it's sometimes gonna go away. And if your peace of mind is going to depend upon these things, you are never ever going to be satisfied, and you are always going to be in stress.
Doc, I mean, as we are diving into the 12 minutes of this conversation, I think it's getting very interesting because we know that you are a scientist, right? You just talk about DNA. Perhaps we maybe can shine the light a little bit on the DNA to understand what exactly is happening to us, right? As a character or whether the DNA, who is at the fault? Like, you talk about that squirrel wheel, right? Not squirrel, the rat wheel, right? It's there, but sometimes, we as humans just go in there and we want to go into the chaos,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
somehow or other we love that chaos. Even a conversation, if someone, giving a speech or whatever, if they feel that they are always in this monotonous tone, they always want to use the word we always do things that, we think that we have to put it all in the right places. But can you talk a little bit on DNA, Doc? I mean, what exactly is happening in our body, and why is it such that, such certain characters, we know that, these are the issues, but often, right, this question really posing onto that, often it's always a solution. All right, if we can do prevention, that would be way much more better. Someone is after a burnout or anxiety or depression, it's all after someone got it, then they try to get for help. How if someone gets help before all these issues comes in? So what is DNA plays a part?
You mean, sorry, I didn't get your question. Are you asking
So
that
is
how
DNA
does it?
does plays a part in our system, how we behave, how we talk, how we think, and how we carry ourselves, and all those issues that's going to come in the future. We know, right? If you work without a rest, you get burnout. So how is there any way that we can
Oh, so
replica or
you're saying,
recalibrate?
you're saying that how could we connect that to our
That's right.
genetics?
Yeah.
Right. Well, definitely, as we are born into families, right? We do carry our genetic information, DNA, from our family. We have it from there. So certainly there are certain diseases, or we would be susceptible to them more as compared to someone who might be, like, somebody who might be more susceptible to diabetes because it runs in their family, as compared to somebody who might be susceptible towards cancer that runs in their family. But having said that, it's not just what we have as our genetic material, but what also works is that epigenetics. We call the word epigenetics, which means that what is the environment around us. So our genes often only get uh, activated it also depends upon the environment that we have around.
Right.
So
Right.
if you are creating a beautiful environment around you, if you are creating an environment which enhances the well-being, the similar things could be either delayed or may not happen.
Right.
So definitely there is impact on your genetics. Doesn't Your genetics is not the only thing that makes your well-being. Your
Right.
environment, your way of being is also there, that plays important role. Often they say, the disease is manifested outside first, then it comes inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you for that. And of course, we are going in, and we already got a couple of messages that's coming in. Thank you, Junita. Junita said very impressive. Thank you, Junita. We also have Vanessa said hello, babe. So probably she's diverting, directing that question to you, all right? So Vanessa, if you have any question, you can ask us. All right, Doc. We are going to go into a little bit more on the self care. Also, when we talk about daily, is this something that we need to do in a daily routine? Even if they have
Right.
busy schedules, right? Some got scheduled and then they forget about themselves for the next 6 months, and then they already
Right.
burn out. So how can one incorporate that as well, Doc?
You mean the self-care in the daily schedule?
That's right, self care and the daily
Yeah.
routines.
Yeah, so what happens is that all of us are very busy, especially us in Singapore with our job and everything. We have that very little time is left. So I can only, there are various ways in which you can incorporate certain routines in your life, but I can only speak from my experience and you can modify it with your experience. For example, I am on MRT for almost 1 hour, and that's the time when probably I would close my eyes and meditate for 5 minutes, and it sets the mood,
Right.
right?
Right.
Or sometimes I come back very late, but I make sure that, okay, I go for a 15 minutes walk around my neighborhood, and then sometimes walking on the grass barefoot, or whatever calls you. Doing that alone with yourself itself is a beautiful self-care routine. You don't have to create a very, very extensive routine yet. At least start doing it before you start getting into scheduling a lot of things into it. Or even when you are like, this is something I really like to do, it may
Right.
sound very stupid, but it has helped me like anything, and it has
Right.
made me where I am today. I go to the mirror in the morning when I am as I get up, and I just say, oh, you know what, Vani, I love you. I love you,
Right.
and you're so
Right.
amazing. And I say that to myself. And there are time periods when I feel shitty, when I don't believe it. But if you make eye contact with yourself and last it for about 30 seconds longer, you will start feeling that love. You have to go
Right.
beyond your discomfort.
Right. So that's another one that you give yourself the own confidence and own motivation, and
Absolutely.
and self care. Right? That's self care, right? I mean, you're taking care of yourself.
Yeah, it works. And
Uh,
people think that self-care, Vanan, do you think that people always think that self-care means I am doing indulgence, or I'm feeling guilty about it, or I'm selfish? Does it come across to you because you work in this field as well?
Doc, I think for self care, right, when you mention self care already, the word is very exclusive. Oh, you're going for a very luxury spa. You're going to go into a
Yeah.
Bali and jump into that wide, ocean and swim with the dolphin. Sometimes, most of the time, this self care is always often related to it. But I think you proved a very good point that when looking at a mirror or even talking to yourself and doing little things, I think that plays a very important part in our daily life as well. But I totally agree with you what you have said. I do often, face these issues, right? Like as simple as going in the bus or going in the MRT station, using your own AirPods, and listen to music, your favorite music, and let the world pass by when you just sit back and relax. I think these are the little things. But unfortunately, like we mentioned earlier on the earlier question, that we are always running after deadlines, right? Or the deadline is running after us, and we work longer hours than ever before and doing things extra, and we work for the dollar sign as hard as possible. So probably we forget ourselves most of the time. I think self-care is a compulsory for everyone, and
Yeah.
they should take care of themselves first. Which I hear this a lot of the time when I see people, they get very exhausted. You can see the dark circles. They're not very happy on a daily basis, right? You can see they're actually dragging themselves to work, and there's a lot of other factors as well. Emotional strength, mental, um, unpredictable future, what it may be for us or what it may be for us. That creates unnecessary anxiety, stress as well. So if you look at it, right, on the medical or the health perspective, blood pressure is going up, heart is overworking, and all these are, you are inviting all these medical issues along the way in the next 1 decade, and probably not even 1 decade, in the next couple of years, you already get it. So yes, doc, I do agree, and I do hear this very often, that self-care is also, most of the time, is often associated with indulgences. But I
Yeah.
think that has to be changed. That has to be totally have to be changed.
Yeah. Yeah, because self care is the most difficult thing to do. It's very easy to love another person. It's very
Yeah.
easy to sacrifice your time for another person. If you
Right.
go and say, okay, somebody needs help, somebody is going through something, five people will come and stand and help. But what about you? You are going through something, you are dealing with some issue. Are you there for yourself?
Right.
Often we are not, right? Why are we not feeding the best food to our body? The best
Right.
means the food that loves us back. Why are we
Right.
not giving the best exercise to our body? Why are we not being taking like 1 hour all by ourselves on a Sunday? And it's absolutely all right to go after dollars, nothing wrong in it. I go after dollars, like,
Yeah.
it's lovely to have abundance. I am lucky to have abundance. It's lovely to have a job. Not everybody gets a job. It's a blessing. We all know
Right.
recession has hit, right? So everything is beautiful. We should do all these things. But also at the same time, being your own cheerleader is the most important thing. If you will be your own cheerleader, then only you will know how to cheer for another one. Otherwise, how
All
will you
right.
know? If you do not have love in your heart, if your heart is not full with the love from inside, how is it going to spill and go to another person?
Well said, Doc. Well said. I mean, I think it's always very important that we need to fill up our own cup first before we can,
Absolutely.
filling other people's cup. You often hear this in the plane, right? Before, when the oxygen mask drops, always help yourself first before assisting the elderly or even your children. Because if you can't able to handle, you will not be able to handle the situation. But I think often, right? Often, I think in the world that we are living right now, it's full of economic rush and stability. People are always trying to do extra. In fact, Doc, I was speaking to a gentleman just a couple of days back. Let me share this with you, a very interesting topic. He says he does everything extra. I said, by doing extra, what do you get? Oh, I'm being noticed by my bosses. I'm given praises, and I also expecting an increment. I think I understand, but do you really take a half day? He said, no, you work 7 days a week. You work 12 hours, you know. But I think,
Mhm.
it's all option for individuals to do that, whether you want to work
Yeah.
hard or you want to take a back. But I think because of the environment also has cost, and people also want to be appreciated. So they do everything extra on themselves, and they forget about themselves because they're always trying to impress other people.
Right.
Which always, like we mentioned very beautifully about the filling up the cup. I think we are
Yeah.
always trying to fill up everybody's cup, right? Family, work, friends, a lot of other issues that we come by, and we often forget about ourselves. I think that's one of the reasons why, Doc, I think a lot of us, all right, we don't have the stats, but a lot of us fall under burnout very quickly without
Oh, yeah.
identifying it, right? They don't even understand that they can't be self-diagnosing themselves. Hey, I burn out, but not enough sleep, no interest in activities, staying at home, sleeping, negativity, and a lot of other sign and symptoms falls into it. They often fall sick. They got no interest in anything pertaining to the
Yeah.
world. So that's where the self-care comes in, Doc. So I totally agree with you on that aspect, like what you have just mentioned on
Yeah.
the busy, how busy they are in schedules. They got to spend, like, what, we have 24 hours a day. Come on.
Yeah.
If you're not going to spend 1 hour for yourself, oh my god, that's going to be very hard, right, Doc?
Yeah, and it's not like when you sacrifice for others, maybe because you see, I have been in the humanitarian space. I have been I have gone through the burnout where I didn't have the inner fire within me, but I was still continuing to go on. Today, if somebody says sacrifice your 8 hours sleep for something, I would never do that. I sleep for
Yeah.
8 hours. I make sure I do that, right? Even if you look at like what you just said, that you were talking about this gentleman putting extra
Yeah.
efforts, extra this. While there's nothing wrong, again, everybody has their own way of doing things. But if you go back and look at your best work, the most amazing things that you have done, or the best things that you've got in life, they come with the flow. They do not come with hustle.
Right.
It never comes with a hustle. It is always in the flow. It comes, of course you have to put efforts from your side, you have to start it, but then there is a flow. Something happens, you say yes to it, you put your effort, something connects to someone, somebody connects to someone, and things just
Right.
happen. So
Right.
it's always about being in the flow. And and you won't believe, Vanan, these days, as much as I prioritize myself more, I feel I can see the effect of it in my work. I can see the effect of it in my relationships, and also in the way I am right now, the way I look. Like, every time when you practice self love for 3 years, and then you become wiser, and then you become younger, and then you practice for another 3 years, you become wiser, you become more younger, to the point that people have stopped recognizing me.
Right. It's a bit of like COVID-19 also, right? Very famous. I think that's a word that we have used many, 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 many times in our life. I think so. But Doc, like you mentioned, it just coming over back again and again. But like you mentioned, the self care can take in many forms, right? Depending on the individual preferences and needs and circumstances. The situation is very different. Like you mentioned, the guy, he have an option, but he wants to do it. And you mentioned about 8 hours of sleep. Last time, when someone say, hey, you're going to sleep for 8 hours. Oh, don't be a lazy person, sleeping too long. But no, sleeping is actually recovering from your lethargic. It is just like, charging your phone, right? A very funny thing, you don't plug it, but you got to just switch off and sleep. So I think that is very important. So activities such as getting enough sleep, eating a balanced diet, food intake, I call it, regular exercises, practicing relaxation techniques as well. One of the things, Doc, I also want to share is about spending time with the loved ones, pursuing hobbies and interests, or even seeking professional help when you are needed. And you feel that, if you're feeling always demotivated because of a situation that happened in the past and you can't able to cope up, losing someone that is very dear to you. So I think that is the time that you need to speak with someone. So speaking with someone doesn't mean that, you are in a mental state or you are weak. Often when you seek for help, these are the stigma that is going on very regular. So I think self-care is only important, very much very important for maintaining a good health, but also to help the individuals feel more confident, productivity, and be resilient as well. Do you agree with that, Doc?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing wrong in seeking. Oh, so there are two things when you were saying this, the two things were coming in my mind. One
Right,
was, we are lonelier than ever these days. We
right,
have a million followers on our Instagram, we have
right,
so many Facebook friends, but we are lonelier than ever. And
right,
there is a study, there are not just is a study, there are few studies which have proved that the human health and the human longevity, right, like living longer span of time healthily, the social life plays most important role in it. Like being with your friends, being with your family, connecting. We have including me, we have disconnected our ties from our family. We don't have time for that. I used to be that way, but but in past like 1 year or so, I have been more connected, more and more connected to my mother, to my brother, and I feel so fulfilled and so loved. It just, and all that reflects on you as a person, all that reflects, like you shine from inside, from that.
right.
So isolation is also like self care, also means sitting with your friend and giggling about nothing, just laughing out loud about nothing. That's also part of self care.
Perfectly said, Doc. We are now at almost 30 minutes with Dr. Vani. An interesting topic that we are talking about right now. It's about self love and self care. We are celebrating the International Women's Day on this particular day, and big things are going around, and we are giving the honor. But like what Dr. Vani said, and probably I also agree, it should be celebrated every single day, right? With all the love and self care as well. Not just particularly one day, but of course this is dedicated, which means that yes, we should celebrate more. But that doesn't mean that the 364 days you don't celebrate, and today only you celebrate, right? So that's why we are trying to emphasize here, right? Even Valentine's Day is 365 days. Go and love, be loved, you know so that's on a softer side. But please do listen to us in Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We are in LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, so we are in every social media. You can listen to all our interesting topics, and today with me is Dr. Vani, and we're going to go into a little bit more on the mental health, because I think self-care and self-love is often associated with mental health and the well-being itself. Of course, it is a continuity from the COVID-19 to where we are right now. But I think it is now been more shine. The spotlight has been shining on the mental health a lot nowadays. And people should be not afraid getting help, talking to loved ones or even professionals like psychologists, counselors. They are perfectly fine because they are well trained, or even a therapist as well, who listens and understands where we can entangle the rope from there within and then help. So getting help is perfectly fine. So Doc, we are going to talk about the self-care help with the mental health and well-being.
Hmm.
What is your take on this, Doc? I mean, you can start from COVID or you can start from now also. Yeah.
So during the COVID time, of course, it took a toll on a lot of people's mental health in a different, of course, those who were losing lives around them, those who were isolated alone in one room.
Right.
Anybody who has gone through previous trauma, it was enhanced because you're just in one place and you are alone and you are seeing things happening. So definitely and we also know, like, so many relationships have taken a toll because of that. Like, uh, that also tells the longevity of a lot of institutions, like how good they are when two people are put together for 24/7. What happens then, right? So so yes, so COVID has given, while whatever detriment that it has done to humanity, it has also given us a placeholder to think about various institutions, to think about our mental well-being in a different way and prioritize it. Prioritizing self has never been so important as it is now. Like, anyone can drop dead like that. It doesn't need
Yeah.
COVID, but
Yeah.
COVID has shown it, right? That today this person is living and breathing and tomorrow this person is not there, and that is the reality of life anytime, and we tend to forget it. It has definitely put mental health on a very big banner. You really need to take care of your mental health. You need to make sure that everybody around you, you should be responsible, that are also uh, taken care of. And it does mean often that it should be all right for you to go to professional help, because our friends, our family members may not be well equipped with
Right.
how to deal with you when you are facing a certain kind of challenge. Like, for example, if you have a tumor in your head, you don't go to your friend and tell that, okay, can you take care of my tumor? They don't have the expertise. Similarly, if you
Right.
are going through any kind of mental trauma, you can't go to a friend and expect, or a family member and expect that they can take care of you. No, they cannot. You all should have a therapist or a counselor or a coach, whoever that you deem fit, with you. And it is very, very, no, it doesn't mean you are cuckoo, it doesn't mean you are crazy. Something
Right. Right.
is not right and you are taking care of it, whether it's mentally or it is physically. So I think we have spoken a lot about it, that
Well said.
that stigma needs to be broken. I have 2 3 counselors that I run to all the time. Now, you want to call me crazy, go call me crazy. But that's how it is.
Doctor, I mean, that's a very great point that you have shared as well. I think everyone should have a counselor. Everyone should have a trusted one to talk to, right? Even it can be a good friend. But unfortunately, that good friend will not be able to understand the situation. Maybe the recommendation may not be the best, right, or be the greatest. So it's very important time to time. In fact, we time to time we need to check on ourselves as well, right? Very important. Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we have enough rest? Do we have it? So it's like a checklist. I call the checklist. Have you ever exercised? Yes. Have you ever taken care of yourself and did some, charity or good things about yourself? Your appreciation or gratitude? Check. 8 hours of sleep? Checked. There are a few checklists that we can actually do. In fact, after this show, we can actually put these checklists. There's so many website that is providing, like a basic mental health check, to see
Yeah.
whether are you on the burnout side or whether you have depression or anxiety and kind of stuff. But you see, doc, there isn't any specific reason, but it's all the symptoms that have to be produced in a person before a particular situation can be diagnosed, right? And one of the good things that I mean, if allow me to share this humble news that I actually did my psychology during the COVID period because there's a lot of time. And exploring about the human mind was always one of my interest topics. So when we started to look into the assignments and look at the world as just not the world, but where the people are, why some people are just rushing and driving, why are getting aggravated, angry and agitated, and so many stuff, right? It's all the situations of how one can able to handle it. They are just bottling up, just like a pressure cooker. And if there's no pressure release, it either explodes. So it's very, very important that we are in the topic of self care and self love with Dr. Vani, and we are really talking about the mental health and well being, which is the most important priority for every one of us to function well. But we got to take care of ourselves. So instead of outward bound, we need to turn inward bound to do a lot of stuff as well. Any more thing that you want to share on this particular segment, Doc? I mean, on the mental health and well being as well.
I think one thing that you just said, which probably I just want to, you use the word gratitude, and it's very powerful. Uh, that really helps. Like just thinking as your day is ending or as you're beginning the day, just thinking of five things that you are grateful for today. Like, um I have heard Sadhguru saying it, like you open your eyes, there are many people on the planet who have not opened their eyes, right? That itself is, you opening your eyes in the morning itself is something to be very grateful for. Then you
Perfect.
look
Yeah.
around yourself, your loved ones are okay, there are so many people who have lost their loved ones today, it is all right. Then you go further, and then you see that okay, you have a job that you were doing good, so you have a food on the plate. So you don't have to be grateful for big huge things, you have to small small things. Just find every day two to three things that were the highlight of your day, and it really helps. While sleeping, what was the highlight of my day? It could be as simple as that, I saw that flower and it looked very beautiful to me. It will make you smile, and that's
Doc,
the
we
one
are
of the
going
best.
to a serious topic right now because you just mentioned about gratitude and we give all the time on gratitude. I know I remember very clearly. We call the three V's, right? Vanita, Vans, and Vani. We talked about these a lot of time during our topics over the past couple of years. And Doctor, I totally got to agree with you. I mean, if someone is not very grateful, or you don't really need to be grateful, but if you're not great at that kind of gratitude and to be stay in bliss, in order to be that, you need to be very thankful for it, right? Even every single little things, even like walking down the street or looking at something beautiful, you just talk about, right? You look at a flower, you appreciate it, you're very thankful. So within yourself, you create a very clean, peaceful, and a very blissful environment. So even though the external environment can be toxic, it cannot be penetrated to you because you have a filter, right? All of us have air conditioning at home. We have filters in the aircon because we know, yeah, the air is clean, but still this does gets through. So we have to use that filter. And I totally agree with Dr. Vani as well. The gratitude also plays a very, 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 very important part in our life. So it's just like a filter around us to make sure that the dirt or the toxic doesn't get into us. So in order to do that, you need to do all these self care and self love as well, to be in a state of a very blissful and happy moments to many, many more days to come by. Thank you, Doctor. And all the viewers are listening. If you have any particular question, you can say to me or if you think that you don't want to be, anonymous, you want to be, not showing the name, but okay, you can send it to my and phone as well, or copy Vans messages, private message, so we keep it there. We are going to go to the next topic. The next question, Doc. What advice do you have for people who are just starting to prioritizing? We talked a lot mental health. We talk about what you can do to for your self care and self love. So how do we prioritize this thing, Doc?
Right. So first of all, uh, very important is to have compassion for yourself, because when you start something, it is not necessary that you will be able to achieve a lot. You have to take baby steps. If you have not been, for like 30 years of your life, you have not been prioritizing self
Right.
care, in one day you will not be able to meditate, exercise, and eat clean food. Not gonna happen, right?
Right.
So, baby step, and when you fail or falter, just accept, give give compassion to yourself, take your own sweet time, and then get back to it. Do not get into, again, don't make that hamster wheeling into self-care. Don't bring it into self-care as well. So that's I think one thing. Self compassion is very important. The other thing is that often self love and self care um, are used as buzzwords, and a lot of people say that it's a buzzword. So so the thing is that as long as it's not coming on the detriment to another person, like, okay, I'm taking care of myself, but I'm going to harm another person because of that. That is not self love, that is not self care. Self love and self care is only about you and yourself. It has
Right.
nothing to do with another person whatsoever. So it cannot be at the detriment. Self care is not selfish. There's a difference between narcissism and self love, which we need to identify and understand. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you for that. Today is the International Women's Day, Wednesday, March 8th, 2023. And we have a special topic today that is called the self love and self care. Together with me, Dr. Vani, a scientist, we are talking everything about the mind, body, self care, self love. Now we're going to come into a little bit on Vani's work, that a lot of people doesn't know. And I know Dr. Vani for a couple of years, and I've seen some of her work, in India particularly, and you tend to these are quite emotional videos. I think picture of you I've seen before, and of course you have shared with me personally, no name mentioned here, but you do rescue, am I right to say that word, doctor? You rescue, handle certain situations, is that right?
Yeah. uh, I mean, not so much in the previous 2 years, but I did a lot of such work for the past 10 years.
Right.
Yeah.
And can we talk a little bit on that, because I know you pertaining to the woman, right? I mean, you did a lot of stuff. How was your mental health, or rather how was your situation? Because these situations can be very, very emotional. But of
Yeah.
course, we're not going to talk about which part of it. But how do you actually handle it?
Sure.
And it still exists, right? We are, even though it's now 2023, probably in certain part of the world, it still happens. So how do you actually move from there?
It's difficult, and often it takes a lot of mental toll on us. That's why, to all the people who are doing social work, self care is one of the module that is taught to you, right? And when we started, there was nothing like this. There's nothing like self care and all that was taught to us. So so it was difficult. It took toll on your mental my mental well-being. Especially, I am empath, like I'm the grandmother empath kind of person. So and I was an unhealed empath for a very long time. So I took everything that is happening out there, which is not good, which is sad. So I took it upon me. I took those energies upon me while helping out, or I shouldn't even say helping out, while doing work with them. um, I try to use my words with a lot of, like, I give a lot of importance to what words I'm using. So while working with those situations, I used to
Yeah.
take up a lot of energy. I didn't know how
Yeah.
to deal with it. And I would compare, okay, how's the world so different for different people? I can come home, I can sit on sofa, I can sit on the couch, and I can watch TV, while there is another person who doesn't even have proper meal to have. So, and that made me feel guilty. I had the survivor guilt, I had like all sorts of guilts. But then what I realized is that if I'm not able to take care of myself, I'm not going to be 100% for anybody, neither for my children, nor for my parents, nor for the people that I've been working with, nor for somebody who looks a little girl who looks up to me or want to become me. No, I'm not presenting the right example. So that's why, um, prioritizing your own health, prioritizing um, your own care, especially if you are an empath, and especially everybody should do that. But if you are working in service sector, if you are working in social sector, you need to make sure that you are doing every day, you are cleaning your energy, you are making sure you are disconnecting with what you have done before, you are disconnecting with the stories that you have seen, you are not bringing the situation upon yourself. And if that is happening, go and meet a professional. These are very important things.
Thank you for that, Doc. And now, I mean, to all the viewers who are watching this today, our topic is on self love and self care. Yes, we are Kopi with Vans. So if you are watching this, grab your kopi or tea if you whatever that you enjoy. No particular thing, but please do for us a favor. Please do share and like so that it may reach to out to a lot of other women out there, or even for male as well. You can actually appreciate these topics that comes in every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Today with me is Dr. Vani. We're having a very great conversation on woman-related issues, and of course, perhaps one day we will talk about man-related issues as well. Um,
No, but
Doc. Yeah,
one and we have not spoken anything which is different for man and a different for woman. It's true
yeah,
for
that's true.
all.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Even for
It's
mental
just
health,
that
there
it's a
isn't
woman's thing.
any. Yeah, for mental health also, it doesn't have a male and female. It happens means it happens, right?
Yeah,
But
it
Doc.
happens to everyone.
Yeah, so we going to touch a little bit more on the woman. How can women advocate for better mental health resources and support? Asked by Cindy. So Cindy, we're definitely going to answer that. And for other viewers watching this, please do share and like so that it can reach out to more people, and they can get some takeaway with Dr. Vani and Vance here. If you think, please do share and like, and do listen to us in Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So, doctor, yes. So, how can women advocate for better mental health and resources and support? Things have
Yeah.
changed, and definitely, no more nowadays. Men seems to be cooking a lot of times. I see even the shows or even cookbook are written by male. Women tend to leave the kitchen already. Male is taking over, hijacked some of the families, which I know. So, where are we right now in terms of resources and support? We can talk
Yeah.
a little bit on
But
that.
isn't it? It's good. It's good that there's no gender role. Like,
Right.
maybe men always wanted to cook. I know some of the men who are amazing cook. It's
Yeah.
amazing to eat food that they cook. And,
Yep.
so it's I think I love living in this time period where things are shattering, things are changing as compared to before. We still need to do a lot more work, but it's happening. So yes, how can women advocate for better mental health and support
That's right. Yeah.
is, uh, in all the communities, in all the societies, companies, schools, there are women, right? There are women who are employed. So, them coming together and understanding what are the, and now that we are specifically talking about women, what are the female related issues that need support, and then rallying for that support. I think
Mhm.
that's how it is going to happen. We have to come together. I just had a very beautiful conversation with this friend of mine who said, those of us who have got the voice, those of us who have maybe understood a little bit, who have unraveled, who have seen the breaking of the life and come out of it, it is our responsibility to now speak about it. It is our responsibility to now make the change. It's uh, it's mandatory for us because we have given that blessing. So we need to
Right.
do that. So for example, in terms of, very simply, I read somewhere sometime back that in one of the countries now women have been given like one leave on their period days.
All right.
It's
Okay. Wow.
It's necessary. Not everybody, not every woman goes through a smooth period. Somebody goes through very difficult time, not just physically with the cramps. They are losing a lot of blood. I lose a lot of blood. I know how it feels. And mentally as well. You can't cognitively, like, you are not coherent when you are thinking. So what's the point of working on that day? Or what's the point? Even I know a lot of women who go there, who work in the office or are working in the family, but they're just trying to slowly pass the time so that this day can get over. Why can't we be given a holiday on that day? We need to rally about it. The next thing we need to rally about is our reproductive rights. We are not doing that. We need to rally about women in science. We need to talk about, like, it's been very recently, I think in 2020, when a woman's body is released as a model system to work in science in Elsevier. Before that, it was all male bodies shown. So why these are the things where we need to come forward and we need to rally and say that we need it. There are no insurance, or maybe very little insurance, on our reproduction related issues, on our womb related issues. So the HRs, the people in the company, the women in the company, the CEOs in the company, they have to come forward and they have to work on it so that we can get support.
So for those who are bosses who are listening to these podcasts, you know what to do. So that yeah, I mean, of course, there's a lot of great bosses around. There's also some nasty bosses around, right? We're not going to talk about that, but of course, we're only going to talk about the positive because there are more stuff, good stuff to talk about. Yes, I think you nailed it right in the target, because I think uh, losing, even Doc. I mean, some males, all right. I mean, I didn't fall in the category, but some feel males see blood, they faint, right? Right, and I've heard before, but not known specifically who is that. But even in, like, donating blood, I've been donating blood for the past 20 years. Every time after donate, I feel like as if like I battle with 10 bulls horns. I'm just studying the charging ahead with the bulls, so it's so exhausting. But women actually go through this period of menstrual cycles, like, I mean, probably what, 50 years. We are, menopause starts around 55, right? Sometimes earlier, right? So they're going through with that, carrying every month. And definitely, I think you mentioned it so well. I think that should be shine spotlight as well, at least one day, right? Should be given
Definitely.
for that flavors. Yeah,
You are right,
well
right?
said.
When we give blood, as you said, we get those biscuits and the pack of juice and everything with that little
Right.
bit of blood given. What about, every month that we are going through it?
That's why there's a saying, the strength of a woman, who go through the pregnancy, so much of patience, going through a lot of mood swings, and then delivering on a bone breaking. I remember some decimals, right, where the numbers go really like a bone breaking, like giving birth. So much of endurance and so much of, I think, of course, as much of male play a very important part in the reproduction system, but I think without woman, I think there will not be, right. You can just be a fertilizer, but if there's nothing, able to produce and go through that endurance period, I think definitely we give a very great appreciation to Dr. Vani for bringing up such a great suggestion that she'll give at least one day of rest day by companies, for women who are going through menstrual cycles. And we are now in the topic of self love and self care. With me is Dr. Vani, and we're talking about the International Women's Day, which is today. And the topic is, of course, self love and self care. I know there are a few questions that came in. If you have a few last questions, we can definitely take it before we closure, because now we are almost at 55 minutes of a great topic that we will love to talk. I mean, for more, but the topic is always keep it within 1 hour, right? So that each segment will be very crispy and able to finish it up fast. So if you do have any final questions, you can send us to us. You can DM. If not, just put it into the comment section. I will definitely ask Dr. Vani. Okay, Dr. Vani, I think this topic today, I think, definitely shines some light. And if viewers are sharing it and liking it, that shows their appreciation as well. I mean, I got a few couple of messages as well. Thank you, Ashwin, saying that great topic, Dr. Vani and Vance. We need this. Thank you so much. As a male coming out from him, I think, is very, very wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashwin.
Thank you,
And also
Ashwin.
I have Archana as well. Thank
Hi,
you,
Archana.
Archana. So yes, Doc. So when are we going to catch up for coffee? Because I know today Kopi events you didn't bring your Kopi, right? Usually you will bring your a coffee, and I am also not drinking coffee nowadays because I think
We're doing
the weather,
water
even though the
now.
weather, yeah, drinking water. So water with vents today. um, yeah, Doc. I mean, we are here. Thank you, viewers who are watching this. I know we have a very steady pool of 8 over viewers. I think 15 over viewers are now watching. Thank you so much. If you can just do a share and like, I think that would be very great for your friends and families in your Facebook as well, or even in the social network. It will reach out to many people who may be very useful on this podcast. Especially, we are talking about self love and self care with Dr. Vani. So, Dr. Vani, we have come to the last segment. Of course, it's a takeaway for the woman out there who needs your encouragement, for the woman out there to be celebrated, and any special words or any encouragement. Because I know every time when you give a takeaway, it's very, very powerful. And he stays in social media because it's all the podcasts are there. So, any messages, Doc, for the woman out there?
Don't feel guilty about taking care of yourself. Uh, a lot of time we think that
Okay, we have lost Dr. Vani. I
no,
think
no, no.
it's a
I'm
connection
here.
issue. Oh,
I'm
yeah,
here.
back. Okay, yeah, yeah,
So, so I have to share this. So I have this
yes,
alarm set. I have this alarm set on my phone reminder
yeah.
3 times a day that says, "Have you loved yourself today?" So it just
Wow.
it just rang.
So you see, Doc, I mean, I mean, whatever you said, and that's what exactly you do, right? Self care, self love. I love myself.
So so
Perfect.
maybe the takeaway should be this, that probably set reminders on your phone of like reminding yourself that you are amazing, and talk to yourself. Yeah, this is also one very important thing. Talk to yourself with respect. We often don't do that. The first thing that anything goes wrong, the first thing we say, "Oh, you're so stupid. Oh, you're so silly." you know no, talk to yourself with respect. It comes slowly, but I have been practicing it, and I know once you start practicing it and start becoming aware of it, you will reach to a point where you start respecting yourself. So very important, self respect. Practicing self respect is very important. uh, Simple things like going to the mirror and just saying, "Hey, I love you." It's also very, very, very powerful. And gratitude, compassion to yourself. These are 3 4 things that can really, really be very powerful to shape you up. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for the particular 1 hour. I know you have a very busy day ahead, and with that busy day ahead, you did your self care, which you said you love yourself, and your alarm just ring in the show itself. So that's a great what you preach is what you do. What you do is what you preach, right? So perfectly, example with me is Dr. Vani, a regular speaker and scientist, and she does many roles. We can talk about that for introduction, even 10 minutes. But she's very humble, sharing a wonderful experiences and also about how to self care and self love. That's our topic. Thank you, Dr. Vani, and definitely we have more podcasts coming up at Kopi With Vans, and definitely we are going to do the coffee, right? Eventually, one of these days, real Kopi, and then we will discuss even more further topics in the upcoming months and years to good years to come by. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you,
All
Doctor
right.
Vani.
Thank you,
Thank
Vanan.
you so
Thanks
much.
for having
Thank
me.
you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right, viewers and listeners. So that's Dr. Vani, a great speaker, great friend of mine. Very spontaneous, gives a lot of great advices, topics that we talked about. That one thing that we want to talk about today is, of course, International Women's Day celebration, which is a Wednesday, falls today, March 8th, 2023. Probably, I mean, not so probably, me and Vani totally agree that out of the 365 days, these special days dedicated. Of course, we have to celebrate three times, four times, 10 times. We have to definitely have to celebrate it. But the rest of the 365 days, we definitely have to celebrate as well, right? The one of the thing that I always practice, because we talked a lot about in mental health, is about self love, self care. And that always often related to your gratitude, how grateful you are for every little thing, even if you're taking the bus, or even if you're turning on the tap water to drink. We are blessed in so many ways, but often we always look at the problems and then we complain, whine, and be sad and worry and full of anxiety. One of the famous quote that I always use in my speech, that we often worry about the past in full of heart pain and baggages, and we worry about the future, what it may be, and we forget to live in the present. And often a lot of us are living in the present with a lot of anxiety nowadays, right? Of the unknown. All right, fear is something that may not be there real, but it's just an imagination of what you are thinking about it, right? It's just like crossing the road. Oh, what happens if my shoe break? Or what happens if the shoelace is tear? There are so many things what if, but we have to live life confidently. I think that's one part that me and Dr. Vani, we agreed on about mental health, because that's the most interesting topic, or rather most topic that talked about all the while, right? So I think every one of us, I think, probably have gone through anxiety, stress, and even depressed as well. But it's how you come out from it, or how you identify it. And it's all the sign and the symptoms. We will talk about it in another podcast, how to look out for this and how to reach out for help. And reaching out help doesn't mean that you are weak, that you are a loser, lost everything in life. No, that means that you are back to ground zero to become greater again in the future, right? So, thanking you again for joining me on this episode. And it's a great honor for me as a Kopi With Vans. We definitely have explored the importance of self love and self care, right? We talked about why it is important to prioritize our own needs, our self care, and help us manage our stress and anxiety. So, that's a word, right? How do we manage stress and anxiety? And also, in another part, how self-love can help us build resilience. So resilience is another topic we can talk whole hour about it, right? And self-confidence. So I want you to remember this, all right? Practicing self-love and self-care is not selfish. It is necessary. We need to take care of ourselves before we can take care of the others, all right? I think that is very, very important and very commonly said, but sometimes we don't. And we also need to tackle life's challenges. So make sure you incorporate self-love, self-care into your daily routine. We talked about the routine. It is not it's not something that you do when the thing hits you. You have to do all those stuff before the things hits you. All right. So you must be well protected. And that's one of the reasons why I mentioned about the filter that you put around yourself, because there's a lot of toxic. There is a lot of dirt around, but you shouldn't be getting into it. So resilience is a very, very important part that we have talked about in our previous episode. Do it on a daily routine. Take it small steps. Go for a walk in the nature, not necessarily on the gym. I always advocate that if you can go to the gym, perfect. If you can't, go for a walk. Our national parks has done. Our national parks are great. All right, one of the best scenery that we have. So go for a nature walk. Breathe yourself. Look at the greens. You feel very re-energized. You feel a belonging there, right? I hope this episode has inspired you and prioritize your own well-being and practice self-love and self-care. So don't forget to share this episode with your loved ones and spread the message of self-love and self-care. You may never know, someone may need this, or someone may need to hear this, and this is what exactly we at Kopi With Vans do. That I hope this episode has inspired you for sure. Thanking you again, once again, many, many times again, for joining me at Kopi With Vans. This is your Vans. I'll catch you again on the next topic that's coming on Wednesday, 9 p.m. And this is going to be in a health topic. At Kopi With Vans, we always cover 90% of the time is the health topics, but sometimes we cover a little interesting topics as today, International Women's Day. We need to celebrate that. So we will do certain topics non-related to health as well. But even though we are doing something that is non-related to health, the mental health is also coming in. So every topic that we talked about, it is health. So we need to prioritize that. So if you're seeing this, once again, please do share and like. This is your Vans, Kopi With Vans, but unfortunately today is water, so don't follow that. We still stay to Kopi With Vans. I'm going to catch you again on the next episode, which is Wednesday, 9 p.m. Stay tuned. This is your friends. Good night. Ciao, ciao. Adios, amigos.